All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here, of course, for Ancient Magus
Bride, episode 9.
Yes, and we have just had a pact sealed between Signor Doggy and
Signor
Chise.
Doggy. Yes,
Yes.
That is what we shall call him from now on. Signor Doggy.
The Animagus / more animated dog.
Right.
In that...
And I believe they gave him the name Ruth,
yes. Yeah. And I like that her familiar is sort of this bridge between the states kind of Elias and her are in.
Right.
And I think
Human
that's
and
more
fantastical.
Right, exactly. And I think that there's some themes in there, but I think more of what they're doing just in terms of story-wise is they're just introducing a new main character.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because while our main two are definitely fantastic, having a third is helpful.
Yes, and Sylvie hasn't really been a big main character,
right.
And a lot of the other characters have kind of been involved in their specific arcs, but then
they're still side characters.
But yeah, then they very much leave
right.
When their arc of sorts is over.
Yes.
Like we haven't seen Lyndon in forever.
No.
We haven't seen Angelica in
a long time.
Forever either. So it'd be cool to have like a more linear version of the story kind of solidify and to bring all the pieces together pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And I think this would be right about the time where they could start doing that, given that Chise has now shown to use her magic in more
right.
agency.
I would not mind another Slice of Life episode, though, just me personally.
Yeah, I agree.
They do those really well.
But I think they could have a Slice of Life episode focused solely on the characters and not introducing a new concept like dragons or the cats or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, without further ado, let's get into this episode and see what happens.
Isabel, 俺は新しい暮らしに慣れてきたところだ。お前はどうだ?
I'm so glad we have a doggy character.
She's not in a cloak. She's in, like, regular clothes.
Yeah. Didn't know Elias had any of those. The dog wants to play.
すまない。楽しくてつい。
What's wrong?
エリアス、
ごめんね。今日も食事はいいって銀の君に伝えてくれるかい？
教会から帰ってきて2週間も部屋から出てこないなんて。
ドアを開けて本人に聞けばいいだろう。
In any fantastical setting, doors are the most dangerous things possible.
Yep.
戦った時変化したのが体に応えたのかもしれないな。
ルツは落ち着いた？ずっと敷地を探検してたけど。
Marking
あれは必
territory.
要なんだよ。本能的に。
Yeah.
犬的に？
認めたくない。
Yeah.
She could play fetch with him.
Yeah, that would be adorable. Oh, hi.
Is Silver Fundy going to
こ
say
れ
something?
何？シルキー？
どうしたチセ？
よくわからないうちに放り出されたんだけど。
This is a slice of life episode.
It is. Yeah.
みたいだな。
だけど大丈夫かな？今外に出たりし
Yeah,
て。
literally every time you venture away from Elias, you get attacked.
久しぶりだね。
Hey, Angelica!
元
Yeah.
気にしてたかい？
エリアスは。
いや、あいつは関係ないよ。
Yeah.
あんたがどうしてるかと思ってさ。ちょっと時間あるかい？
It's kind of an odd coincidence.
Yeah.
Cheese! Cheese! Oh my god.
さて、ちょいと見せてくれ。問題なく機能してるみたいだ。体の調子は？
いえ、特には。
いつも眠そうにしている。
ルツ。
魔法を使った後。
Okay.
遠慮ばかりしてると
That was
踏み外す
different.
よ。
Yeah.
いつか一人で立った時にね。あんたが知性の使い魔だね。ありがとう。
He's
お
like,
前はいいやつだ。
You seem like a good
sort of
person.
turns away.
何でも一人でやろうとしないこと。何のために力を貸してくれる隣人がいるのさ。
Fair point.
だから自分の体をいたわらなきゃね。
努力。
知性。それは依存じゃないのかい？あんたは若い。これから長いんだよ。与えられるものだけ食べてたら、あんたはエインズワースに飼われた子だ。 よそであまりいい思いをしなかったのも少しは
But
知
this
っ
is
ている。
something that needs to
だけ
happen.
ど
Yeah.
あいつだけを見てる必要はないんだ。
すいません、こんなことやるつもりじゃ。ごめんなさい。
いや、私も言い過ぎたよ。
違うんです。
あんまりいい子でいるんじゃないよ。
じゃあな、
Right.
ロビン、新入り。
Robin newbie.
Now, if Chise is 15 right now, she would be in her first year of high school if she were in high school. And if the original estimate was 3 years to live, that means she would die right as she graduated.
私のこと何とも思ってない人に寄りかかって、私は自分勝手だ。
Oh, that's your
No.
conclusion?
That's
no, that's the wrong conclusion.
No, that's so far off.
昔は明かりがついた家に帰るのは苦手だったな。
千世、
何ルツ。
俺はお前といろんなものを少しずつ共有してる。
Yeah, he's gonna. Uh huh.
感覚も感情も記憶だってそうだ。あの出来事がお前にかけられた呪いなら、俺はそれが早く解ければいいと思ってる。
Nice.
ただいま。
She really needed Ruth.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
お小遣
Definitely.
いありがとう。これはお土産じゃなくて、私たちのお茶菓子とか。エリアス、大丈夫ですか？
Oh.
エリアス、どこですか？エリ。
Oh. Crap.
知世、ごめん。体がうまく抑えられなくて。
朝になったら説明してくれますか？
okay. Oh. Okay.
あなたなんか産まなきゃよかった。
Oh, that's a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
エリアス。
知世君、よく来たね。
Hi.
大丈夫かい？
Nice
お
dog.
かげさまで。
夜な。
ルツ、どうして縮んだの？
Why did you
こ
shrink?
の方が千世と一緒に動きやすい。
Oh my god.
なるほど。君は使い魔か。いいお兄さんができたね。
ち
Stare.
エリアス、知りませんか？
レインズワース？悪いけど知らん。
ありがとうございました。
Bye.
早い。君、ちょっとあいつに似てきたんじゃない？
本当、どこにいるかな？
Play fetch, play fetch, play fetch.
千世はエリアスを愛してるんだな。
なんで？
あいつがいないのを恐れてる。でもそれよりも心配してる。
でも
But is it
なぜ否
really
定しよう
that?
とするんだ。自分以外の何かを愛するのは大事なことだ。
簡単にそう思えたらいいんだけどね。
千世は強情だ。
I love his dirt face.
こんに
Who's
ちは。
this?
見ない顔だね。
つい最近近くに越してきたので。
うちの庭が気に入ったなら気軽に見ていってくれ。
Okay.
あんたスレイベガじゃないの。珍しい。私のこと口に出したら食べちゃうからね。そういうあんたはワンコロね。
お前らの好みはもっと若い男のはずだろ。
Apprentice, yeah.
ちょっと
Back off.
二人ともお茶でもどうだい？
手を出したら引き裂くぞ。吸血鬼。
Oh my gosh.
But is it a good idea to leave Chise alone?
僕は独り身でね。僕はジョエル・ガーランド。お嬢さんは？
知性羽鳥です。
もしよかったら短編があるから読んでみてくれない
Is
か
this a
い？
regular short story or a magical short story?
でも
もしかして時間がないかい？
なんてことない。けれどどこか懐かしいような。 どうして彼についてるの？血も吸ってなさそうだし。
目があった気がしたの。あの日バラの庭で。
So a long time ago.
だから血を飲めない。あげるものもあげられない。どうしていいかわからない。
Yeah, we get the symbolism
人
here.
間のあんただったら、
昔ここでとても美しい人を見たんだよ。白チームだったかもしれないが、あれはきっと。
Whoa.
Okay.
Because her presence as a slave Eggie,
Makes him able to see her?
potentially, yeah.
ジョエルさん、
あ、いや、
Oh.
なんでもないよ。
あんたのせいかしら。
Yeah, it was.
Probably.
ジョエルさんのことが。
Yeah.
それは私の欲しい答えじゃない。私たちの愛し方は食べて与えること。
チセ、
ルツ、
あいつを見つけた。家の北にある森の奥だ。
Oh. This is that scene from the opening.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
知性。黄昏時に森に入るのは危ないよ。
Every.
夜には戻るってメモに。
あなたは何も話してくれないんですね。
Nope.
どうしてこんなことになってるのか。
だって君は物分かりがいいじゃないか。僕の言葉をそのまま受け取ってくれていただろう。
Good, she said. Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
いくら私が自分勝手でも何も知らずにいられるほど私はあなたに興味ないわけじゃない。
Okay.
そんな顔初めて見た。え、何？すごい顔だよ。
あの成り行きであのメモで放っておけと。いくら私が鵜呑みにするからっていきなりいなくなられたら、どうしてこんなところで休んでるんですか？
体のバランスが崩れたんだ。
Water helps with
それでここで
regenerating
調整をしてた。
magic and stuff. No, that was a thing they introduced a
本
while
当と
ago.
嘘が入り混じってる。どうして今は
Trust is a
こ
two-way
んなに
street.
怖いんだ。
怒ってる？
怒ってないですよ、怒っては。
じゃあ何を考えてるの？
だから別にどう。
What the heck?
What is this?
okay.
Oh, okay.
リンデンバームから3へ
Yeah.
リンデル様から伝言なのですよ。
Alright.
ドラゴンの国へ。
Oh, holy cow.
All
Okay.
right. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
that-
we should talk a little bit about this episode as
Yeah.
a whole, because
It-
this is probably the lowest. This is not the bet. This
Yeah.
is one of the lesser episodes of Ancient Magus Bride.
Sure.
So far.
And the main reason I would say it is not necessarily because any of the things they tried to do were bad.
Right.
But because it felt like it lacked cohesion, like, as a whole.
Right.
Each one of the individual things that they did would have been great if they focused a bit more on it and gave it a little bit more time. One of the things that Ancient Magus Bride does really well is those lingering, tender moments, and we didn't really get those this episode.
No, this episode seemed a bit frenetic.
Yeah,
in
for
that-
a slice of life episode. Where,
Yeah, so the pacing was off, the direction was a little bit wonky, and the moments that they wanted to hit the really high moments of like intense emotion and such, and also with Chise's kind of trying to figure out what love really is, I think that is where it's
Right.
good, but they didn't capitalize on it.
Exactly. Like if I were to change this episode, what I would do is I would probably cut out the entire story with the vampire and the old dude. They did have some great moments of like what they were talking about there, but that was nothing that they couldn't have gotten from either Ruth or Angelica, yes. Because those were very good. The overall idea of what they were shooting for was fantastic.
Yep.
but it just could have been
all in all, what they did with Angelica gave little depth to her character, other than we just were reminded that she exists.
Yeah, it was more of just something of like, oh, they have a shopping montage, and that's it. And Angelica like addressed that the problem was there, which was really good.
She kick-started Chise's thought process with this regard, and Chise kind of reacted in an interesting way, but they didn't go into that.
Right.
And to be fair, Chise's life up until she's been with, up through Ainsworth's, acquiring of her, has been a little bit closed off. So Angelica wanting to find out more about what's going on makes sense.
Yep.
But because Elias is also shut off in this time, it would have made more sense for her to be a little bit more concerned, and maybe Chise, letting her know, like, Elias isn't well, and she'd be like, well, wait, what is that? And then they could go into it, because Angelica has some idea. She has more knowledge about Elias than Chise
probably
does.
Yeah, and I feel like the big problems with this episode aren't so much so that certain things were done badly, so much as the kinds of sort of punches that we would expect from an Ancient Magus Bride episode could have been there, and they weren't.
Right.
The whole, like, they Angelica brought up the whole idea, the topic of the episode, right? And there was the whole thing with Ruth wanting to basically, like, communicate more on a deeper level with Chise about that, but then they didn't do it, and instead they had those sort of lingering moments where Ruth is watching her, and you can sort of read into and infer what Ruth's thinking at those moments.
Right, and I liked Ruth this episode.
Oh, yeah,
he was the
great.
best part of this episode, 100%. Elias's moment of shocking transformation was shocking, but it was a little bit disturbing.
But that's all it was.
But that's all it was.
Like, yeah. And
so basically what they're saying is we're going to delay the build-up for this kind of discussion that's eventually going to need to be had for a later time.
Yeah.
So it felt like an in-between kind of filler episode that introduced characters that will have no real... no real change in the grand scheme of things for the story. And while I actually do like some parts of the vampire old man's little mini story there, it was so on the nose and obvious with what they were trying to communicate with regards to the situation and how it mirrors Elias and Chise in an inverted way. It was so short that I would have rather had it just not been there at all.
because they could have had it be something where Ruth was just talking to her about it. I feel like also, with this one they wanted to have this episode, right? But they didn't. They basically weren't sure whether they should really go all out with it, so then they ended up working in kind of an episodic story to it as well. And really it should have been split into 2 episodes or something.
Right. Also, I've just noticed that more recently with the Fairy Queen and with this vampire, they have gone into more of the...
fan service?
Kind of like tasteless fan service stuff where there's really no point to it.
Yeah, like, and that was like, something that...
I think the Fairy Queen actually it's justified in a lot of ways, other than the silly kind of physics engine on the boobs, which was hilarious. But we didn't laugh at it because the enrapturing atmosphere of the scene was so perfect. In this one, it felt like it was an excuse.
It felt a bit shoehorned in.
Yeah, it felt really shoehorned in.
Because with, say, the Fairy Queen... like the way they set that all up, it was immersive, right?
It was very immersive.
But with the story of the vampire and the old dude, because it was so like just fast and done.
Yeah.
That made it seem more like the fact that they decided to have it be a vampire, be just for the fan service, not actually for the story, and it made me not be looking for the actual like depth in the story and what was being said.
Because now that we're out of it, we can go, okay, what can we glean from that? And it's like, okay, yes,
there was definitely stuff there.
You're interrupting me. There's that obvious disconnect between where they can never truly relate to each other, much like Elias and Chise. But then there's the actual connection that was formed almost accidentally, and that's something that I feel like is happening with Chise and Elias, in that Ainsworth or Elias bought her because she's a slay beggy, not because he was in love with her.
Right.
What what Chise is beginning to discover is that difference between being dependent upon someone versus being able to kind of make her own choice to care for someone because of who that person is to her. And that's kind of what the vampire girl did, is that someone saw her in that moment and there was a connection, and she can't fully explain it, so she has this longing to be with him.
Right.
And she stayed with him for decades, which is nonsensical in the sense of it wouldn't have made sense. Like, it's also communicating how dysfunctional some of the things are with Chise and Elias.
Exactly.
So it does have a place, and I think it's okay, but it more of was just there as a bridging point to the actual conversation that happened by the little pond lake thing.
Exactly.
Which is probably the only really big moment in the episode as far as of the bigger plot narrative. Like that's kind of
pretty much that, and then her going into the room and seeing him in his true form or whatever.
Right. But that was just a key into this conversation.
Exactly, right. And I feel like they basically wanted multiple things. They did the sort of the lingering stuff and the slow moving through with showing the shopping and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. I think that's fine. I love it when stories do that. It's showing their everyday life. It makes the characters and the world
between Ruth
feel more
and
real.
Chise.
Yep. The conversations were great.
To that, yep.
But it felt like because they added in the shopping montages, which really could have been in any of the episodes, it didn't really need to be in this one in particular. It basically gave them less time to focus on the things that were really important, and they could have gone more in depth.
Now, I do want to say, Jacob, you asked for a slice of life episode, and you predicted it perfectly. But this is one of the things that's different. A slice of life episode is not about having aimless plot and having...
It's about developing characters.
It's about developing characters.
Right.
Yes, and it's not about having shopping montages where you basically do things that don't develop the plot or the characters just for the sake of showing them doing regular life. That is the smallest of the smallest parts of what makes a slice of life episode. It's developing the characters. That is the background setting upon which character development must happen for it to be a good.
Yeah, and they could have focused on it a bit better. I don't think the whole mystery of Elias being in his room and stuff, and then trying to find him and all that, I think that could have been relegated to a completely different episode.
Sure.
That could have been like if they took that and the vampire little story and put those in the same episode, and then have another episode maybe completely devoted to Chise talking with Ruth and Angelica and basically thinking about, wait a minute, do I actually love Elias?
What do I want?
What do I want? I'm dependent on him right now because I need to survive, but you can't build a really solid relationship on that alone. So where do we go from here?
Right, and I think these are very complex questions to bring up for someone that's, a young teenager.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And also someone who's been traumatized and stuff. I really liked the line that Ruth gives to Chise when they're looking at the house late at night. It's like, if, we share a lot of little things, emotions, memories, and all this stuff. If what happened to you, if that event that happened to you was a curse, I wish it would be lifted now. And they have this moment of leaning into each other, and it's very intentional with the way they animate it, because it's kind of like, whoop, whoop. They each kind of, whoop, 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 like kind of lean into each other a little bit, and it's so sweet and just heartwarming. That kind of thing, I feel like needs to be emphasized a little bit, is the ways in that Chise processes a lot of the emotion she's going through, not just full on dumping it all out, because that's not realistic, but having little moments where it leaks out because people see the struggle that she's going through, people see the confusion of having this very unique situation that she's in, and kind of empathizing with her and being just nearby. And I like that Angelica was there.
Yes.
Because we don't know enough about her character, and because we don't really know anything more about her character since this thing, other than we know that she values independency, I think, and that was something she was trying to communicate to Chise. If she had gone a little bit a little bit more into that and
Right.
sharing maybe a story from her past to kind
Exactly,
of be
yep.
the relating point to
Right.
Chisei instead of having the vampire bit, it would have hit more to us because we already care a little bit about Angelica. Whereas,
Exactly.
yeah, the other
spending 5 minutes on some set of new characters
that will never probably come back in the story.
Exactly.
Again.
It's just And this is one of those things where Ancient Magus Bride does an amazing job with those like one-off episodes about things that develop the world,
the dragons
and all that stuff that also help develop the characters. But when you have things like that, I feel like what Ancient Magus Bride needs is they need to do that same thing but for the main characters. You don't want to so focus on introducing these new aspects and world building and stuff like that you neglect doing that on the main characters themselves. And they probably do that at some point in the future.
I'm sure they do it multiple times in the future.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, now's the point where I would say we need to have one of those.
Yeah. The conversation by the lake was very important in that it shows a lot of the ways in which Elias is immature, in that he doesn't really know how to interact with other people. And I'm not saying immature in that he's, kind of rude or insensitive, but that he's childish in that he seems to kind of have this almost teenager like approach to Chisei, in that she is the one that actually knows a little bit more about relationships than even he does. But when that moment of her making those faces, and they kind of brought things into kind of the chibi humor side of things. I actually really liked a specific part of it. You might be surprised by this, but I think what they actually did right there, and this is very clever, was they showed how in this specific area they are on complete and total equal footing.
Oh,
and this is something that I think is necessary, because in every other area, Elias holds all the power, if you know what I'm saying. And it's a little bit intimidating for her because there's also this kind of thought maybe in the back of her head that this guy is...
I'm at his whims, basically.
Yes, and that's a little bit... That doesn't really make for a healthy kind of relationship. Like you said, trust goes both ways. And she acknowledged in this episode that, he's probably lying to me with about half of what he said. And I understand why he's kind of trying to gloss over specific things for the purpose of not bringing up an awkward thing for him, but also an awkward thing for her.
Right.
So...
And it's great that Chisei
understands
that, because a lot of the times, like when characters don't understand that in stories, that's like one of the main reasons why I'll see melodrama happen. Is because it's like, what, you didn't tell me about something that I had no reason to tell me about. You're lying to me, and I can't trust you. And
but what this is good is that there's also that moment of a little chibi bit where she moved away and he moved away. He kept moving closer and she kept moving away. And what that shows me, and this is something I think this is really good, is that while she does have a care in her heart for him, she is not ready for that kind of intimacy. In that, I'm not talking about any kind of romantic intimacy. I'm just talking about letting her guard down in as much as he's not willing to let his guard down fully.
And I think that's where Ruth being in the story will be amazing, because who understands true love better than a dog? And he is, like we said earlier before the episode, that he is the bridge in many ways between the magical, the fantastical, and the human world. Chisei and Elias. He is, man's best friend, a dog. He is also her familiar, so he shares a lot of her emotions and feelings and memories and thoughts. So in terms of communication, I think this was a very important scene at the end of the episode to have. And then, of course, coming in to kind of redeem a little bit of it, we have a plot hook going into the next episode. So we know that there's going to be clear direction. We're not really worried about the show as a whole. We're more of like, this is one of those little bumps in the road along the magnanimous, just not magnanimous, magnificent, just brilliant story and world that is Ancient Magus Bride. So, if anything, the one sort of thing that I'm cautious about with the story moving forward is that they will think that, we can't go completely into characters and stuff like that and just focus on that because people won't find that interesting. So we'll make sure there's like a linear story, and like I hope they don't end up focusing on that when they don't need to.
I think that there's going to be a hybrid of what you want and what's actually going to happen.
Sure.
They are going to focus on the main story.
Yes.
I think that when I was talking about this prior to the episode, saying that they need to bring back all those other characters from the side arcs, this is what they're doing. They're literally doing it right now.
Yes.
And I think the reason they're doing that is because of the linear story that's starting to come in with Cartaphilus, the other sorcerers that kind of teamed up with Elias a little bit towards the end there, and just overall Chisei becoming more and more proficient. That's kind of the main linear story I'd see, and kind of the convergence of side characters being brought back.
Yeah, they were like marking off a checklist there.
Yeah, it means that they're moving in that direction, but they have doubled down way more than before on the Elias Chisei dynamic, and that's where the characters will get focus.
Right. Yeah.
And even if it's going to be slow or in specific areas that are kind of beating around the bush for now, I know that that's the part that they won't drop the ball ever on.
Yes, because that's the whole premise of the show.
It's the whole premise of the show, but I would say that I wouldn't, based on how they handled Angelica, I wouldn't expect character depth coming for side characters.
Sure.
In general.
Yeah, and probably the one we'd be most likely to have it for is Ruth because of his close connection to Chisei.
But Ruth is now a main character as far as the story goes. He's hanging around with Chisei. He is a side main character at worst.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's gone above Sylvie.
Yes, way above Sylvie.
Yeah. Because I think she said 10 words this show.
If that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want them to bring things together with all these quirky, fun side characters. I really liked Lyndall. I really like Angelica.
Yeah, I want to see more of her shop and stuff like that.
I really like Simon, the goofy priest.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I want them to be to have more character, and I'm patient with that. But if they're not going to focus on them for now, they really need to focus on Elias and Chisei.
Yes, absolutely.
And make us really care about them.
Right.
More in the future.
Because right now, I care about them as characters. I do not care about any romantic subplot, really.
Yes, but I think that's important. I don't think they want you to care about a romantic subplot yet.
Sure, yeah. Right. Because I would say it's still too early for that. But when they want us to start caring for that, they'll need to, make us
right.
About that.
And on one aspect, I think that it's good that Chisei feels something before Elias does, because Elias felt maybe something, some attraction, but I don't know if he's capable of actual love at this point. And that's maybe the thing that's weird for him. Is
Gotcha.
he can see that he needs to be giving something that's human to her. But because of what he is, he might not actually have access to that level of emotion or that, being able to actually love her.
Right. And that could be where they do the whole Beauty and the Beast thing.
Yep. I think that would be very good. So looking forward to that, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, guys, if you want to see the next episode reaction to Ancient Magus Bride, go check out the link in the description below. Get on Patreon early access. Where it also comes with Discord access where you can chat with us about storytelling and what have you. And yeah, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.